That's what you're really looking for is where is the support system for these dancers? And if you don't feel comfortable with that, then I say look elsewhere. I will say the shiny objects have all the resources as well. The reason why you're seeing them all over Instagram is because they have a videographer at every practice.
Welcome, everyone. It's the time for another episode of Beyond the Steps produced by Apollo Performance and Turning Point Dance Creations. Last week, we talked about balancing admissions and recruiting, and today we're going even deeper because the world of college dance programs is growing fast, but it's still basically the wild, wild west. Kathy, let's talk about what programs are requiring and whether they're offering enough in return. Sound good?
Let's do it.
Kathy, you often say that college dance is becoming more required, less offered. Can you explain what you mean by that in terms of the teams and dancers and college and what's going on there?
Yeah, it's becoming very competitive in terms of the college dance team world and the number of dancers that are aspiring to college dance teams. So where it was, a handful of students throughout the country that would be auditioning or trying to be recruited for a team, it's now become almost mainstream for dancers that have pursued dance, over the course of their, high school years to want to pursue this opportunity in high school or in college. So there's more dancers. The number of teams has increased. I will say that. So there are more opportunities, but the problem is these teams are not getting funded to the extent that you would expect. It's not like athletics where the college dance team falls under the athletic department and they are giving all the rights and privileges and benefits of another athlete on campus. On top of that, the dancers are often required to do much more than a traditional student athlete would be asked to do. So, for instance, I call them the super student athletes. And the reason why I say that is they're required to bring their talents to campus in addition to their athletics. So, whereas a tennis player has their skill as a tennis player, as an athlete, there's an artistic component required for dancers. So, that's one side of it. In addition to that, they are expected to be ambassadors for the university. They are expected to be on camera, be ready to go out and talk to the press, to hobnob with the alumni and the people that are providing funding for the university. They are expected to be at the game day pep rallies. They are expected to do off-campus performances. These are not requirements that most student athletes are expected to do. Needless to say, the amount of time that they put into their craft, into what they do to represent the university, is oftentimes exponentially more than what a traditional student athlete would be expected to do. That is not often given the benefits or compensated in such a way that creates an equitable solution. For sure. There are very few scholarships for dancers.
That's what I was going to ask. So, are scholarships a thing for dancers, or is that not? Because I've heard people get scholarships, but is that more on the academic side?
Most of the money you're going to receive as a dancer pursuing a dance team is going to be on the academic side. Most of it.
Which is why you said in the last episode, academics are so important to go hand in hand with your dance audition.
Exactly. The only exception to that are those schools that consider dance as a sport. Those would be the NAIA teams, much smaller schools. There are opportunities to get additional money as a dance team prospect. So, for instance, the university may have set up a special fund where there's a pot of money, and it gets distributed to the dance team to cover some of the out-of-pocket expenses for travel, may help you with books, the cost of books. They kind of try and throw out some financial benefits, but it's certainly not, oh, we're going to cover your full cost of attendance to our university. That's very unusual. One of the other ways that some colleges can offer some financial benefit is sometimes a public school will offer in-state tuition to out-of-state dancers to give them some incentive to participate in their dance program and attend their college. So there are some ways that universities are trying to offset the enormous commitment, both financially and time-wise, that's required for these dancers, but it comes nowhere close to what some of the student athletes are receiving.
Mhm. Yeah, that's sad. That's really sad, and I hope that episodes and discussions like this help advance that. Books like yours help to make that more of a reality. We talk all the time, Kathy, about how there's no oversight in dance. There's no governing body. There's no rules, and the same kind of applies here. Without NCAA oversight, which we know that they're the ever looming body that governs a lot of college athletics. That means that every dance program sets its own expectations. And I'm assuming that sometimes that could probably look kind of predatory at times when you're using the dancers' time commitment and putting a lot of training load and whatever the rehearsal culture is. What should families be watching out for in terms of more of a balance of time commitment, training load, and rehearsal culture?
And I would also add expenses. Like what expense should they be prepared for with all of this?
I think that's one of the first questions you can ask. Well, I would say one of the first questions a dancer can ask a coach is, tell me how you are funded and what expenses I would be expected to incur as a member of your team. Understanding that upfront gives you an idea about the university's commitment to that team. One thing to also understand is the difference in the types of teams and where they're housed, and how that can impact the commitment that's required and the expenses that are required. So some teams, some of these major teams, will fall under the purview of the athletics department without being considered an athletic sport, but they are funded to a certain extent by the athletics department. These programs will get uniforms paid for, cost of travel paid for. Most of the dancers will not have a lot of out-of-pocket expenses. Those are the best funded dance teams. Usually they fall under the purview of the athletics department. Second group of teams falls under usually the band. And so the time commitments for a band team are generally less. Band teams generally, and I'm speaking generally because it's all different across the country, but band dance teams generally do not compete. So they don't have those extra expenses. And the time commitment is usually just the fall for many of those working with the band. So it can be, less of a time and financial commitment for those band teams. The next group of teams are student club teams. So they don't fall under an organization within the university. They are student-run organization. These teams usually require the most funding. Like, you're going to pay for everything out of pocket. If you're going to compete at nationals, you're contributing to the fees for the competition. You're paying for your uniform. So those teams can be the most costly in terms of out-of-pocket expenses, but they usually don't have the same time requirements either, because it is a club sport, so to speak. You're not usually not out at every football game, basketball game. Some of these club teams will participate in other club sports. So they may go and cheer on another club sport as part of their activities. But that kind of gives you a breakdown of what you can expect in terms of the different types of teams and where they're housed within the university and what you can expect.
The question of the dancer should sit down and ask about how are you funded and what expenses would I be expected to cover, right? But what are there any other questions families rarely think to ask but absolutely should when evaluating a dance program?
Where are you practicing? There are teams that do not have a dedicated practice space, they don't have a dedicated studio. They may be practicing on some concrete floor somewhere, prone to injury. Um, that would be my first question. If you're going to try and preserve yourself as a dancer, you're going to want to know what type of practice facility that you are going to be working on. I think that's really important. Even some of the best teams at under the athletics department do not have proper facilities for training. So that would be one thing I would ask. I would also be asking about the coaching staff and the support staff associated with the team.
Trainers, do you have a trainer? Do they have access to a trainer, training facility, things like that? I mean, that makes a huge to me, that always like any you insert any sport activity, whatever, if the coaches are volunteering, that is a very different vibe.
For sure, for sure. And it's not unusual to have a head coach that may be getting minimal compensation. And then you've got some volunteers that are helping out with the team, but that's just a recipe for inconsistency, poor communication, lack of resources. I think finding those teams that has the support of the university to the extent that the dancers are dancing in a safe environment. They have the trainers there to make sure that injuries are treated. Um, Things like concussions. You can't imagine how many of these dancers are getting concussed as part of their dance team activities. It's a problem, and so who's actually monitoring them to make sure that they aren't endangering, their health further by continuing to dance. So those are the things that I really worry about is the safety of the dancers, having the support. Um, and the other piece of it is how are you going to support my academics? So a lot of these dance teams do not have, because they don't have dedicated dance facilities, are training on volleyball courts, basketball courts, and they have to wait until the sports are not using the facility so that they can get their training time. So, that may be at 10 o'clock at night. How does that help me as a student? If I'm not getting proper sleep, if, I'm not able to get my homework done. So those are the things that I think also should be asked is, how are you helping me be a student that can be successful on this campus in addition to being a dancer that is in a safe environment and getting the quality support that they need.
Those are amazing questions that I probably never would have thought of, especially where are you practicing? Yeah, I mean, that is a great question because you're right.
Yeah, you wouldn't think you had to ask that. That's the thing. That you would think, okay, they're going to this big institution that has sports and clubs all over the place. Dances, especially when you're steeped in dancing, you're like, dance is so popular. Everybody, there's so many dancers, right? That's so common. My mind wouldn't even go to they don't have anywhere for us to practice, but it's like an option to be part of it, right? So it's really great insight.
Yeah, and I don't know why I wouldn't go there because there's studios that are built on concrete floors. So, I'm not even gonna go, but another rant. another episode. Let me pull it back together here. So you really gave us a great idea of what are some of the questions, and I think some of those questions kind of lead into what I'm thinking. I'm assuming that the answers to those questions really lend themselves to whether you can tell if the program is actually supportive of the student athlete's well-being, or just, how do I say, just using them for their talent. Using them was not the word that I was trying to come up with, but are they are they capitalizing on their talent, or are they actually interested in the student's well-being?
Yeah, that's what you're really looking for is where is the support system for these dancers? And if you don't feel comfortable with that, then I say look elsewhere for sure. Because, you know, it's too much of a time commitment. And for many dancers, a significant cost um, to be chasing this thing that is just going to not be good for you, right? So I think families really need to be careful. Again, those shiny objects are out there. I will say the shiny objects have all the resources as well. The reason why you're seeing them all over Instagram is because they have a videographer at every practice, and they have someone doing video editing to get all this social media content out there. Those schools have some resources. So that's why they become the shiny objects. But very few dancers are going to be able to elevate to that level. So we have to put some reality into this process.
Well, we are big on education and resources. So, for you out there, if you have not taken our STEPS initiative before, or you don't know someone who has taken it, share it with them. You can find it at apolloperformance.com, and it is a 5-part series. You can take it at your own pace, and it is 100% totally free. Free, I said free. You can find all types of things in there that can help you along as an educator, as a student, as a dancer. So make sure that you check down in the caption to find the link to that as well. Kathy has an amazing book, The Recruitable Dancer, that she runs down all this stuff she's been talking to you about over the last couple of weeks and a lot more. You can find that at our website at danceintocollege.com, and you can purchase it anywhere that you buy books online as well. Now, Kathy, your Instagram handle is the same, right? Danceintocollege.com?
Dance into college.
Dance into College. Excuse me. That's right. Excuse me. Your Instagram handle is the same, Dance into College. So that's Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook?
Correct.
Absolutely. Check that out.
We always talk about the transparency that dancers and their families really need, and just the open exchange of information. And this is definitely a conversation that everybody needs to hear, especially if you have a dancer in that high school age range, if you're a studio owner or a director or a choreographer who works with competitive dance students, you need to find a way to make this happen for them. I'm learning a lot. Like, if I could go back and talk to myself, because I was in the boat of building a new program, and I didn't want to, the dance teams didn't play nice with us. And it's like, why are we going to play nice with you? Like, there's no relationship there. Right. So no matter how hard you try. And so, if I could go back to myself during that time, I would definitely, this would be such valuable information to have. So please share it. Go back and watch it with your dancer. This is not something that is common knowledge. So the more you share that, it's goodwill. Help everybody out that's trying to make these tough decisions, because they are tough. The impact of their decision is long lasting, and they're expensive.
Yeah, and I will say I wrote the book not only for the dancer, but for those other people as well. So the studio owners, the dance teacher, the dance team coaches in high school, the information is there for you as well.
Yeah, it's so great. Next week, we're going to take this one step further. We're going to talk with Kathy about how to choose the right college for long-term success, and that might look different for everybody, not just for the logo on the jacket, right? Or the social media clout. Get ready, because next week's episode is all about making the best fit decision. Until then, we hope you continue your